Well, time for another silver update, and this time I'm going to display a Triumph with the silver update versus a Harley, and this is a righteous motorcycle from the UK that's been around for quite a number of years, classic styling. There's another on this channel. I'm going to actually interject a number of things that are besides silver because I'm going to offer a number of practical tips regarding health and actually ways you can save money. Because the equation is the net sum of money that you're accumulating is basically, how much you got coming in and how much you got going out. And a lot of times the biggest problem people have is as soon as they get this, they use this word, extra money. What the heck is extra money? I usually hear that from somebody, I cringe because I say, that means irresponsible or something when I hear the word extra money. Well, a lot of people have in their mind, this is actually related to silver because the nil game while you're in silver is you want to preserve wealth or accumulate more wealth. And money going out the door is a big part of that equation. Now, as we see silver going up, we're going to see more expenses across the board everywhere too. Maybe not as high as going up as much as silver, but in some cases, yes. But like getting back to that term, extra money, that's something that people have in their mind, and what they'll do is they'll automatically have that money spent. I think, people are probably going to get back to that discipline age during the Great Depression in the United States where people totally mistrusted banks, and they were very frugal and very practical on things. They did not spend money on entertainment and frivolous type of things, and basically kept self-sustaining. So that's part of my mission on here with YouTube to put out a lot of videos on self-sustainability, not only how you can not spend as much money, but also how you can preserve and enhance your health, which also enhances your brain power, which helps you to understand and stay calm through turbulent times. Because health actually has a lot to do with the psyche and how well people deal with things that are thrown at them. Because, part of the problem with crises is that people overreact to them too. So if you're on good health, you can handle more stress and that type of stuff. So this is going to be my strategy on the channel. So I'm going to be a little bit of a curveball on not exactly what other people do. So time to run a little bit with silver here and get on a roll. But today, looking at the markets, actually this morning the markets were down quite a bit. And they were down quite a bit yesterday too. I almost expected this. I was almost going to, but I'm playing very conservative. Like on Friday when they all announced they knew all QE, open-ended QE is here, $40 billion purchasing of securities is going to happen every month, or could happen every month till the economy improves. Well, the market took that as, oh my God, so everybody's betting and the markets are flying up. I almost kind of figured that Monday would see a pullback. It's like it was pretty much in the cards. So, but I do want to point out that Ben Bernanke not necessarily is going to go, I don't know how to say this, balls to the wall with QE left and right. He's shown that he's exercised some restraint with, just totally money printing. But where this is actually going to play out is that this is the part where all central banks lose control, because they're looking at the economy, they're examining the economy, what's going on, it's not working, let's print a little bit more money. Then they examine it, it's not working that well, let's print a little more money. Well, you know what's happening? Like U.S. treasuries and stuff are in major demand. People want to hoard cash. People are afraid, the big guys are afraid of spending that money. And this is the classic thing. I mentioned this a few times before, but this is what's going to happen. And this is why central banks can't really see what's going on behind the scenes exactly. And this is where they all screw up. The big banks and everything and all the big companies are hoarding cash. The traders are hoarding cash. They're not really moving that hard on things, right? So he's going to keep printing money, try to stimulate the economy. And as this builds up, the dam can only get so full, and then the cracks in the dam come out, and then the money is just flying out. And once it starts, you're seeing the prices going up. Then there's a feeding frenzy where everybody's buying all the assets in the world to try to protect their cash. So that's, in other words, it's going to be more like a sudden death, for the dollar. I don't know if it's, I hear the stories that the dollar, like from Lindsey Williams, he'll state that the dollar is not going to be totally dead. But you know what? We don't know for sure. We don't know for 100% sure. I tend to think that it's not going to be totally dead. The reason I say this is not because the statistics and the debt situation and all that stuff. It's the American people. That's why. Because the American people make the economy. The American people, when they get right down to it, they'll throw out and ignore all the bureaucracy and produce enough goods and services on their own to take care of each other. It's going to go right back to the skilled trades and that type of stuff. Not the garbage bureaucrats, It's going to be people that are do things that are productive for each other. So that's probably why I don't think the dollar is going to go to complete oblivion. It's the strength of the American people. We'd probably default on the debt, and the dollar would be greatly devalued, but it's not going to go to zero. That's what I'm thinking. Now, getting back to this little Kitco chart here, you notice platinum and palladium usually pulled back quite a bit, and silver's up ahead. It's up quite a bit. I've always noticed that the scenario never seems to last long, and then what happens is, silver will pull back, and then platinum and palladium will run up quite a bit. I also want to interject here a little factoid. And palladium and platinum are pretty much mined together, and the cost of palladium actually is a little bit higher in mining. It's a little bit more rare than platinum. The only reason palladium is like under $600-700 and platinum is over $1,600 is because of the dumping on the market for the huge Russian stockpiles that were accumulated over all the decades before they found uses for palladium. So I got a real reason to believe from other things and new technologies that metal is going to go up a lot. So a lot. It might take a few years, but it's going to go up a hell of a lot. It's going to be worth more than gold. Now, silver being worth more than gold, no. But as far as silver going up more percentage-wise than gold, yes, that's going to happen too. So all three of these silver metals are going to really start taking off like crazy. But if you start seeing platinum and palladium staying stagnant for a really long time, I'm talking for weeks, and then silver's taking off by itself, and say silver's up around $60 or something like that at that time, I'd be really cautious about selling then. I'd be cautious about holding then. I'd be cautiously selling because something is not right there. These should be running really, really roughly together, and I'm saying in a very, very rough sense because silver's not going to take off all by itself. That's one error that the silver bloggers and some of the pundits will say. It's almost like it's, I don't know. I don't want to berate that point too much, but I kind of mentioned different things, but people could do what they want, but I know I have my reasons. So now I want to point out about velocity shares. I didn't do this, but I was tempted to dump the cash I had in my brokerage accounts into velocity shares back when it was around 20. I says, hell, this never hit 20 before. Actually, if I would have done it way back here in June, I probably would have sold it right here at 23 and took the gain, and hell with it. I wouldn't have known that this was going to happen. But what I want to state here is, you're not going to know every single move that's going to happen, ahead of time, quite obviously. But I think the biggest thing to do is to wait for a pullback. Like with silver, I'm still in it electronically. I still have physical silver and that type of stuff. I'm going to wait for a pullback before I get into leverage. It's something where I see it's significant, like some significant event occurred, some traumatic event in the world that happened that brought all the markets down and silver went down hard. Then I'll buy this because then I know it's going to spring back. And if I see a 10 or 20% gain in a couple of weeks, which is crazy, it's a hell of a gain, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm not going to try to wait for a double. And I think that's a much stronger strategy to use because I think a lot of people get emotionally caught up when the market's going up very high, and they tend to buy it too high. And it's like one good thing to look at is like what the silver bloggers and pundits are saying is that when they're all down in the dump, that's usually a good time to buy. When they get overly elated and they're talking about every bank is going to go under and you only need silver to survive and the whole world is going to cave in and silver's going to the moon and dollar's going to zero, that's probably a good time to sell some. It's a good to look at what those guys say in a way and judge their tone and do the opposite of what they say. Now, getting back to something more practical, I was displaying a motorcycle on here, but I just want to point out it's going to cost you a lot of money. And I think fuel costs are probably going to go double because this Middle East situation, even though I don't think Iran can close the Straits of Hormuz, there might be enough tension and bombs going back and forth and terrorist attacks even on Saudi oil fields. If you remember back so many months ago, there was just a rumor that a Saudi oil pipeline got hit and oil went to like 111 a barrel, like real fast. I'm talking on a WTI. Well, if there's a war with Iran, it may not be the South Straits of Hormuz that's going to be causing the problem. It might be, intramural warfare between the Iran and the Sunni Muslims over in Saudi Arabia. And it could be, not so much, I'm not talking about a formal declared war, but they got people, I'm sure, in Saudi that can cause some kind of terrorist attack on their oil fields. Once this whole thing starts, the regime has their back to the their back to the wall, they're going to go for broke. So I think that, it's pretty much a given that there's going to be a war in the Middle East pretty soon. I'm thinking it's going to be happening maybe before the election. If that happens, you're going to see doubling of the gas prices one way or the other. So, I'm just stating, if silver out the door is going to be from gasoline. Now, I know if you have the money for a new bike, this is like, say if you got a practical, these are not really expensive bikes for new bikes, like the Triumph. $8,000 for a Triumph, gets 50 miles to the gallon in the city, 60 almost down the highway, you got a 5-gallon gas tank. The beauty of this is maintenance, and 30 years from now, this bike will be worth more money than when you paid for it, and it'll still have another 30 years of use left in it. So you can't do that with a hybrid car, I mean, you got a roof over your head with the hybrid car, but if you start figuring out what all the batteries cost you and everything like that to replace them, the motorcycle is way, way cheaper. So I'm predicting that this is going to come back in a big fashion in the United States and across the it's pretty popular in the UK for one thing because of the prices of gasoline, but in the United States it's not as popular just due to it's mainly a recreational type thing. But I'm pointing this out because this is like for the middle class and a poorer middle class, the motorcycle is actually going to be something that's going to keep a lot more of your money from going out the door, when you're traveling to work or whatever. And that's not going to work for everybody, but it's going to work for some. So, I'm just pointing this out because the equation is not just so much how much silver is going up versus the fiat dollar. The equation is how about your expenses that you have going out on a daily basis. And the big things that are going out of your pocket is food and energy costs. And I'm actually going to update some other things on growing with sprouting trays and stuff like that here in the future pretty soon, where you can actually save some money on foods. So the equation, like I said, it's a net sum of everything. So it's not just silver is going up because everything's going up. You got to find ways to keep everything from not going out the door as far as money. You don't want to be shoveling money in as fast as it's going out. And that is a very important aspect of getting ahead in your net wealth. And, it does go right back to the principles that people had during the Great Depression. They did not trust banks. And I'll just interject here. A lot of times people, if you ever wonder why back in the 1930s all those gangsters used to get away with things, bank robbers and all these, heroes and stuff like that in the Midwest, they're going from one bank to another. It was because the people were basically not saying anything about him because when the banks were robbed by these gangsters or whatever the hell it was, a lot of times they would tear up all the mortgages and stuff like that. And if that mortgage was a brand new mortgage that wasn't recorded at the head bank, guess what? The farmer got a free ride in that loan. You know? So actually a lot of these people that were the bad guys were actually the good guys because that's how unpopular the banks were in the 1930s. Believe it or not. You know, I don't think people actually realize that. And that type of sentiment is probably going to start sweeping the nation here again. Who knows? Who knows? Occupy Wall Street is a false movement. But, you know, as far as mistrusting banks and Wall Street, hey, you know, that's pretty much the way you should be. You shouldn't trust it. But not everything on a piece of paper is going to go down. Not everything on a piece of paper is going to go down. So, just have to exercise, you know, some caution with these things because, you know, it's like there's overblown rumors out there that the whole sky is going to fall and that physical silver is going to be the only way you can buy something. That's not true. Then there's other things out there saying that nothing's going to happen to the system, and that's not true either. There's going to be certain areas of electronic money or whatever funds and stuff like that, especially in these exchange traded funds. Some of those exchange traded funds are probably going to have problems. And if you look at, you know, how it's written up, a lot of times a lot of things aren't guaranteed with these notes and these things you get. So, like, you know, that's another reason I don't like investing into triple leverage silver right now too. I'm thinking, you know, at one point in time, that's going to be a fund that's going to be dangerous. So, you know, I'd rather just go into. As a matter of fact, I'll say that, you know, if silver gets up to record highs, I'm pulling, and commodities are up to record highs, I'm going to pull money out of almost all the brokerage stuff and put it in the credit union and go with it from there. And just hold on to the physical stuff because that would give me plenty of money to last me for a long, long, long time. And just go from there because I think eventually there's going to be this major reset of the currency like everybody talks about, but it's not going to be a smooth reset. So on my channel, I want to have a lot of people very well educated on just being self-sustaining, on how to do things themselves, how to provide for themselves, how to grow their own food, how to do their own work, to be totally independent in a lot of different ways. It's like you said, the equation is not so much how much money is coming in due to silver going up, but it's also how much money is going out. If you keep your expenses low and the money's coming in, then you're doing fine. So that's my strategy.